Hey guys, you're listening to the Shift Training Podcast,
where we talk about personal development. We talk about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, and just overall well-being.
And today we'll be talking about identity and self-awareness. So we've got a few questions for today that we're going to cover and just explore. And yes, I'm going to be utilizing my phone because they're in here, nice and thorough. And we're going to start with identity, and we're going to start with how do you see yourself? So that question sounds simple. How do you see yourself? But I think that's really loaded because sometimes we might not have a clear picture. And when I say clear picture, I don't mean like a finger painting or kindergarten level drawing of who we think we are. I mean, like, do you have that photorealistic art picture of who you are? Mm-hmm. So, Juan, if I ask you, let's play this game. We're going to do this. Question is, how do you see yourself?
How do I see myself? Okay, so before we begin, let's start with, I see myself as someone who loves to take care of my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So I love to nourish my body with nutritious food so that way I can function optimally. I love exercising because it gives me that happy hormones, that endorphins. And every time I'm stressed, I'm frustrated, irritated, sad, depressed, this is like the coping mechanism that I use. And based on my research from Google or like any, credible sources, according to those research, it shows that every time you exercise, it cures some of the stress. And like I mentioned earlier, like the depression is one of the most powerful tools that you can use. And like I mentioned, it releases that happy hormones. And obviously, if it's really, really bad, gets to the part where it gets worse, then obviously you have to go to a professional, like therapist, anybody that are working on that domain. And when it comes to my emotional and mental health, I love to expand my knowledge through podcasts, through reading books, and it just allows me to expand my knowledge and self-awareness. It allows me to keep my intention on the right direction, my values, and it just gives me that alignment in life. I feel congruent every time I listen to those, personal growth. And with my spiritual side, I love to just meditate, and increase my self-awareness. I love to do it first thing in the morning. I don't like to miss it because we wouldn't miss meetings from our bosses or anybody that's important to us. So same thing with myself. I like to take care of my spiritual side. I like to stay connected. I like to stay grounded.
Yes, that connection part, essential. So I love your answer. And your answer is, I think, how most people, well, actually, I don't want to say most people. Most people don't even have that clear. So let me stop saying that. But I think that's how a lot of people might answer it. But if I said, when I talk about clarity, I mean, like, if you were to write a biography about yourself from a third person perspective, you're like, I see Vaughn, the identity or character of Vaughn, as what are some of the traits or characteristics of Vaughn, and what are some of the habits of Vaughn?
Yeah, love that.
So what are some of those? I want to know.
The traits.
I want to know, like, if you were looking at Vaughn on a piece of paper, what are some of the things that you know about the identity or character of Vaughn? Like, oh, Vaughn has these traits. Vaughn tends to do these things. In these situations, Vaughn might respond like this. That's what I talk about when I mean identity. How do you see yourself? And what self is that? We'll get to that question later. But okay. How do you see yourself?
I think I see that Vaughn as someone who likes to operate in a service environment. He likes to serve. He's very humble. He doesn't just do it for himself.
Ooh, okay, okay. And how does Vaughn respond to high pressure situations?
High pressure.
Yes, when we put Vaughn in the
Oh.
in the tough place in the pressure chamber in the cooker pot, you know.
If this was on my younger days, obviously I would like to avoid them as much as possible. But as we all know, when you avoid things that will make you grow, you'll
You don't-
get stuck.
Yeah, you don't grow.
And nowadays, even if it's too much pressure, the stake is high, I love to just challenge myself and tackle those problems, you know, and that's where the growth begins. You know, when I get out of my comfort zone. And this reminds me of Tim Grover, where he said, privilege? No.
Pressure is a
Pressure is a privilege. There you
Pressure is
go.
a privilege.
Pressure is a privilege.
It is.
I think that got stuck on me. I don't know why. Just went away in my head.
So yeah, pressure is a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
So Vaughn, you know, under pressure acknowledges that it's a privilege, and he usually walks into that pressure.
Yeah.
Willingly now.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I just listened to this right now on the podcast they gave me that one of the things why I avoid things because I always think about myself. But if I think about it, I'm doing this for others, you know, instead of me, that gives me that ease, that relief, you know, because you're just trying your best to help others. And it doesn't matter if you don't know, if your lack of skill, but if your intention is in the right place, then doesn't matter. You'll figure it out along the way because you got the foundation of, you know, you're here to serve. You're here to make people seen, heard, and loved.
Right. Less judgment around showing up and doing your best versus thinking that it has to be perfect. So that's good. That's good. I'll answer the question briefly because I feel like I don't want to just be like talking forever. So not today anyways. And definitely usually not about myself, but for myself and say, you know, I ask myself the same question, and the same question again is like, how do you see yourself? I see myself as a divine being with the capacity to create and manifest different things. For example, different identities. So for example, if you know me, you know I have several different nicknames. So some people will call me Flip, and that lets me know how we connect. And some people call me Law, and that lets me know how we connect. And if anybody calls me by my government name, you must have known me for a real long time before I got my nicknames, and that lets me know where you know me from. But for the most part, the identities, I understand the identities as roles or sets of traits or characters that I may take on. But the me, how I see myself, is a divine being who has experienced trauma in the earth realm. And there's things that I've overcome that I'm healing through and continuing to move through to be able to create as much connection and positive impact as I can while I'm here. As much love, growth, and expansion. That's how I see myself. And that's very like watercolor painting. But then if I go into detail, I could say, okay, the Law character. The identity of Law is firm. Law is fair. He will not hesitate to enforce the rules or whatever is going on. He wants what's best for people and will kind of fight for it a little bit. But he also will not fight the person for it. He'll be more quick to per se dismiss or let them go do whatever they're going to do and just watch them maybe smack their face against the wall and, you know, just wait. And Law might do that, you know, and that character, he might do that. But Law also comes with the name. He doesn't really play no games.
Right. Yeah, I like it how you differentiate different kinds of character. And that doesn't mean you're inauthentic. You're authentic in a way that you have to change the identity. You can't just be speaking with everybody with the same character. Right? Like
Yeah.
You have your own, you know, it's still you.
They're all parts of me.
Exactly. As long as you're aware of that, you're conscious that you are changing because you wanted this character to come up.
Exactly. And I the way that I see that is these are the traits, or the name makes it easier for me to summarize what traits or behaviors I'm going to take on.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, this is easy. So if you talk to somebody who has a certain habit and you say, wow, you know, you really do this a lot. And they say, yeah, that's just the way that I am. That means they identify with that particular set of behaviors or habits and they take it on as this is me. I go, that is a set of traits or characteristics that fall under this particular character. When I want to act like that character, I will choose to wear or utilize that identity. I will give energy to that identity from my true self. So it's still a part of me, but I may not always be that particular person or character at that time because it's not what serves the true me. I don't need to be that. So this is why I want to talk about identity. There's a big difference between how we may see ourselves and then maybe the true self and what's actually going on. And with that, I want to transition to our next question.
What's our next question?
I'm glad you asked. So the next question is, do you identify with your ego or identify as your ego?
Do I identify myself as an ego or
By your ego?
by ego? Okay. Let's see. I mean, I believe that we all have ego in ourselves. I think everybody has them.
Part of that, part of life, yeah.
Yeah, from what I've learned, that ego there's two extremes where the part of ego who wants to be best of the best and worst of the worst. And I like to identify myself in between that, where I like to be I would like to be in the state of equanimity. And I know I sometimes divert to like two extremes, but through self-awareness, being aware of my conscious, I like to go back in the middle because I want to be humble, have that humility in me, and don't make sure that I don't go to the extreme, because you might go down that rabbit hole and it's very dark and unfulfilling in those areas.
Yeah, and you don't want to go from humility to just being a pushover.
Right.
Right.
There's a balance.
Big difference from being humble and being meek versus just being a doormat. Very big difference.
Absolutely.
I think for me, the way that I think about this question is sometimes we can believe that our ego is who we are. So for example, like you said, ego is a part of us. It's a part of our whole life, our whole being. But sometimes when you understand the purpose of ego, it makes it easier for you to identify when your ego is calling the shots or making decisions for you. Not you are making the decisions. Your ego at this round table of whoever you are, all the voices, all the influence in your life, ego is the one that's making the decision. And then you view that as, this is me. This is the true me. So for example, when you lash out, I just have a quick temper.
Yeah.
That's just how I am. No. Your ego is quickly triggered and you respond in anger because you don't know any other way to deal with it. That's how you think to defend yourself. That doesn't mean that's who you are. You are not your ego.
So when it comes to, how some of the sense it talks about the dark side, would that be considered as ego? Or
the dark side is mysterious. It has all kinds of cool nuance and connection. Let's talk fun, not actual science stuff for a minute. So the whole thing about the dark side is like feeding into the power of emotion and negative emotion, letting that kind of rule the thing. I think that's the whole thing about the Sith, is being impulsive, letting yourself do whatever and say, this is how I am. Like I just said about the ego thing. It's important to understand that, can you see, my ego is stepping in here. Something triggered me and now that's my ego that wants to fight back. Or that's my ego that feels the need to protect or defend me. Or is it coming from a different place? Is it not really your ego? And if you can't tell when that is rising up or stepping in, like if there's no differentiation between your ego and what you consider to be you, if you don't have the ability to do that, you can't separate from those types of behaviors that your ego may say, this is what we should do at a time when you probably should not do it. You won't have the ability to do that because you can't separate from it. You view it as you. And the hardest thing for us to think about releasing is our sense of identity. So if we believe that, this type of behaviors that come up courtesy of trauma that say, I need this to defend myself so I feel safe. My defense mechanism is all that I am. You're saying you're nothing more than your desire to survive. We are so much more than our desire just to survive.
Right.
Yeah. So You have any thoughts on that before I go to the next question?
That's it. Let's hit the next question. Hit it on the nail, Coach Law.
I do my best when I can. So I think this is another important question about identity and self-awareness. And it's, what do you think you're not seeing about yourself?
Oh, what do I see that I don't see in myself?
Yeah, what's something you think you're not seeing about yourself? Like you're just not seeing it.
Right. This is kind of like a tricky question because it's kind of like a blind spot. You know, how would you know if you can't even see it?
How would you know?
Right?
That's the real question. How would you know?
Well, for me, I guess what I don't see, guess how to break completely out of that self-doubt, or like maybe like the part where what people will perceive me. I think that's very common. People hold back because of what people will think about them. So maybe that would be my answer.
That's good. So I mean, you have some insight to it.
Yeah.
What you just demonstrated to me is they always talk about there's a part when you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a part where you know that there's things you don't know.
Mm.
You might not know exactly what they are, but you go, it's kind of in this area over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somewhere over here. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go move towards that. Then you begin to know it, your understanding expands, and then you go, wait, now that I know this, I know there's a whole bunch more crap that I don't know. And that's how awareness of any kind grows. Whether you're learning a specific skill or learning more about yourself or whatever's going on, that's usually how it goes. So it's, again, how do you see or know that there's something that you're missing, you can't see it? I think for that, it's kind of like we all kind of have this sense of there's something here, something going on. I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm going to do this in response. You know what I mean? But we've all had that feeling where you're just like, I don't know what's going on. And then usually what do? Try to pick other people's brains.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not avoidant of the thing. So if you're not avoiding the thing, because if you're avoiding the thing and your brain is like, nope, I reject it. I don't want to see it at all.
Yeah.
You will filter it out and you will not be able to see. But that's why in both cases, whether you cannot see or, you don't know what you don't know, or there's something you don't know, in either case, the way to get to the next step where you start to know it is you have to seek insight or information or perspective beyond your own.
Yeah.
That's where you have to look outside yourself or you will not be able to see.
Right. Yeah. I think that's where the mentor, the coaching comes in, will point out all your blind spot that you're missing.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah. And it's good to have friends too, because friends will tell you some things. And if you hear, 4 or 5 people, kind of tell you the same thing, there must be something going on there.
Yeah.
Something. They might not be right on the head, but they're all kind of pointing or hinting at something. And you might need to explore that to really find out the truth of it.
That's right. Sometimes a joke, there's an element of truth in there too.
Yes, exactly. So you got to be ready for it, But that's how you can do that. That's how you can start to see what it is maybe you're trying to not see about yourself or your identity.
Sometimes you just got to dive in and you'll see it.
Yeah. And that's how you build your self-awareness as well, right? So, and then that's one way to build self-awareness. So that's our last question. Our last question is, how can we grow our self-awareness?
Ooh, how can I grow our self-awareness? I think there are so many ways that you can grow your self-awareness. I think one, if you want to be present, you can use your 5 senses, 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can smell, 2 things that you can touch, and 1 thing that you can taste. I think the best way, one of the best way is touch. When you touch something, it grounds you. I think that's one of the best way to stay present and be self-awareness. Maybe your mind is going all over the place. Just touch something. Maybe maybe it could be your shirt, where you're sitting down. I think those are one of the best way to become present and be self-aware of where you are. for me personally, what I do is that I already mentioned it earlier, where I would like to meditate for about 15 to 20 minutes and just having clarity throughout the day. I would love to like visualize it. What am I excited for? What could be a stress that could come in a way that day? And I think visualization is also a skill that you need to do, and gives you that practice and muscle. It's a muscle that we all need to cultivate. But that helps me a lot when it comes to self-awareness. How am I going to interact with this person that I'm going to meet today or at work? That gives me that self-awareness.
So for you, it's use your senses to be connected to the present. Then meditate, like reflect.
Or just sitting in stillness. Yeah. Just and thinking about what am I going to do throughout the day and how would I respond to that.
And then we get into visualization. Cool. I think I agree with those too. Those, for me, self-awareness, meditation, journaling, using your physical body to detect whatever's going on, right? So to actually be present, to ground, to see, to smell. When you're eating something you really enjoy and you're getting ready to take a bite, if you're the type, all right, now there are some situations. You can be in a situation where you're in a social environment, you need to be present to certain stuff. But if you're just there eating a meal by yourself or maybe with one other person, if while you're getting ready to take a bite, you're like, oh, I'm so much stressed, so much work I got to do, whatever. You're not there with the food. There's plenty of studies that say that's not going to digest well. You're in the wrong state. Like your body's not going to process your food well.
Yeah.
You're just not. Really, you need to, this is warm. It smells delightful. Get your mouth all celibate. We taste it like savory and a little bit of sour or sweet or salty in there too. Whatever it is, you need to really be present and enjoy it. And when you do that, your meals, your body processes them way better. Your experience is so much better. You feel way happier. Yeah, totally different. And it becomes a
different experience.
Yes, an experience versus like, I'm just doing this.
You can't really enjoy food like that.
No. We both like food. So that's why you see food's easy for us to get excited about,
Exactly. And I like what you said about about how you feel in your body. Sometimes that is another way to practice your self-awareness. Let's say somebody told you something and you feel maybe you're triggered. That's tension. When you stop. Okay, I detach myself a little bit and okay, what's going on? Why those words is hurtful for me, even though he didn't mean it. Things like that, So yeah,
definitely. So I think, like you said, being present, visualization is important. I think visualization is important, not just to be like, I visualize to get what I want. You should use, or not just visualization to practice mental contrasting, which we talk a lot about as well, which is like weighing, in this case, I will do this, in this case, I'll do this, and visualizing the positive and negative outcomes. So not just in terms of prep, but for self-awareness, I think visualization is important because it helps you to clarify what's important to you. You won't visualize about stuff you don't actually give a damn about. Exactly. And when you do, you won't feel anything about it. The things that really matter to you when you're visualizing, you start to feel it in your body. You start getting excited for it.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that is when you keep visualizing things, like let's say one of the most common fear people have is public speaking, right? And when I was doing my public speaking before, I would visualize it over and over again. So the first time I visualized it, I would feel terrified. I would feel this debilitating anxiety. And the second time, he's kind of just feel more relief as I keep going. Maybe the second time I feel nauseous. The third time, I'm just scared now. Or the fourth time, and as I keep visualizing it, it's already here. I visualize over and over again, and it got better. So when it comes to reality, then that's where it's not as bad compared to not visualizing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. What they don't know about you is that you are a great speaker. They don't know your future yet. They don't know.
They don't know.
Bond's going to be crushing the speaking engagements. Young guys don't know.
And I think another thing that we're missing is breath work.
Got to.
Yeah, one of the best way to become present, be self-aware is our breath, like going back and just be grounded.
Yep, absolutely. Last thing for self-awareness, we're giving you guys all these things for self-awareness. It's also just taking note of like you said, a kind of objectively, like third person. Why did I just do XYZ thing? Or if you say, why did I do? You could say, why did third person, call yourself by your name. So if your name's Tim and you do something, you're like, oh, wait, why did Tim do that? Or why did Vanessa just do that? Vanessa felt like this because da da da. Write it out. Take a note of it. Think about it. That's another way to build your self-awareness subjectively, to be able to see the identity or the character that you associate with as self.
That's right. This reminds me of this 3 question that I use. I need to start using it again, which is what worked, what didn't work, and what can I do to improve?
Oh, yep. Those are good fire questions. So I think that's it for identity and self-awareness today. Vaughn?
That's it. I think that's it for me.
All right, cool. I hope you guys got some value out of this. I hope you heard something that was useful, something that will serve you, something that will bless you in some way, shape, or form. That's our goal. Literally, our long-term goal is to positively impact the quality of human interaction. And the way that we believe to do that is for us all to grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually together. Everyone needs to get better at being able to connect with themselves in order to better connect with others. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, if you like learning more, we talk about all the things relevant to things that influence how we feel and navigate life. Please subscribe, follow, rate, review, all the cool things. It helps us a lot. And we always welcome your feedback. Vaughn?
Yes, comment down below. What do you guys think? I would love to know.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful day. Peace.